Hey everyone, either welcome back or welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about what it feels like when I'm getting an IIH or migraine headache. I'm going to do actually both because it's really difficult to tell initially. So I know I've already done what it feels like to have a headache, but I haven't talked about specifically and done a specific video on what it feels like when these headaches actually come on. So before I get too much more into details, time for the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashley Stewart. So 2018 was actually a pretty hard year for me, but it was also a pretty good year too. So I completed my bachelor's degree in biochemistry, but at the same time, I was also diagnosed with a rare condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension, or IIH. Some of you may also know this by its older name called pseudotumor cerebri. So if you're curious to learn more about what it's like to live with this rare condition, then I encourage you to watch on. Don't forget to subscribe, and I upload new content every Monday and Thursday afternoon. I might be more specific if I can specifically tell, but this is going to include either or. I have talked about this in videos before, but I want to have a dedicated video for this so that it's really easy for everyone to find. The first thing that happens is usually I get very tired for really no obvious reason. It usually starts off with fatigue, and then my eyes start to hurt is usually what happens at the very start. This pain in the eyes is like an ache with the IIH headaches. It is very strange feeling. It's not a stinging feeling. It's more of an ache or a dry, it almost feels like you have dry eyes a little bit. If you guys have ever spent a lot of hours at a screen, this is kind of how I used to feel in university when I've been studying for too long. And I used to use a notes app on an iPad for doing extra lecture notes. I did this for quite a while, actually. I'd use both paper and my iPad to actually study because I only had an iPad Air at the time, or I guess an iPad Air 2 at the time. So they did have the iPad Pro with the pencil out by the time I was actually in, I think, third year or fourth year of university, but I didn't really want to spend a ton of money, extra money, when I already had just gotten an iPad. And you can get some other types of pens you can use on the iPad that work okay. And I did actually have one that worked okay. So I started using a notes app. This was nice because I could actually import the PowerPoint presentations. Well, I have to change it into a PDF if it was still in a PowerPoint presentation. But once it was in PDF, I could actually write right on the slides. I found this out though, that this didn't actually work for studying for me. I actually had to sit there and write everything out. Unfortunately, the way I remember from lectures besides actually listening to things is writing notes out, much to my hands disliking because this gave me wrist cramps like crazy. But it was the only way that I really knew that worked for me for studying. I can remember parts of pictures, but I'm not very visual. If there was a lecture that was recorded, I would just rewatch the lectures and pretend like I had never been to the lecture before, so I'd continue to write notes. The difference is you could pause it when you got to a point where you're like, oh, that's a really important point. I'm going to pause this for a second, write this down. And the key was to write it in your own words, not exactly what they said, so that you kind of had to form a new thought kind of thing. And it worked really well for heavy information classes, but there are certain classes that you can't study like that for. I would study a different way between some of my classes because they were completely different in the way you had to study for them. I'm not going to get into details because that would be a completely different video on its own, and one that doesn't really relate to this video. You've got that ache in your eyes from looking at the screen. This is why I didn't really catch on to the fact that my eyes were worse than they were, because I was able to completely dismiss everything because of, well, all this pain that I'm having just seems like I'm having this pain because of studying. Like, I had a sore back at the time, I had sore eyes at the time. Like I said, it was the double vision that really got my attention. What happens then is the the headache will kind of spread. Like I said, I've got a pretty consistent sore spot right here. It never really does go away, although it has been better lately. The next thing that happens is it spreads to the crown, basically, or the top of my head. If it starts to get really, really bad, it'll start to kind of climb down. My neck will get really stiff and sore, and then feels like it goes into my back. I don't know if it is actually going into my back. And at that point, that's when I kind of have the whole symptoms that I've already talked about and what an IIH headache feels like, basically compared to a migraine. Migraines are a little bit different from what I just described, but this channel focuses on IIH, so I want to keep it as IIH related. But my migraines are a little bit different in the fact that my eyes start to hurt as usual, but then I get kind of more sensitive to light. Sometimes I'll see black spots or stuff or whatever before. That can be hours before, it can be right before it. I haven't really tried to pay attention to it too much, but I have had kind of black spots in my vision when I have had some migraines. I become light sensitive, so if my migraine is really, really bad, I have to go and lie down and basically have sunglasses on inside. With the IIH headaches, I don't usually get as light sensitive as I do with the migraines, or at least from what I've noticed. But it's really, really getting hard to tell if these headaches are IIH headaches or they are migraines. But I still think that when I have a severe headache with neck stiffness and it feeling like the pain's going down my back with the eyes hurting but not being light sensitive, I think that is still a high pressure headache. I just think it's coming and going now. And I don't know how much that is actually true and according to what they know about IIH. Like, I don't know if the pressure can actually vary or if it's fairly steady. I would love more research on the fact that, does our pressure stay steady throughout the whole day and over time, or does it vary in consistency? From what I actually feel like, it varies in consistency, because there are some days that I feel worse than others. However, my optic nerves, they haven't really changed much. So that tells me either the pressure isn't matching the eyes or the pressure is coming up and going down based upon the day. So I would love more, seriously, love more research on if the pressure actually varies throughout the day. Don't forget, if you have anything you would like to add to this video, you can drop down in the comments down below. And as for now, that's it for today. Bye, everyone.